I wanted to spend a little more time talking about the screen on the new Razer Blade Stealth 13 and kind of how it compares to the 15 that I've already got. There's a few things that are noteworthy about the screen, obviously the first being that it's a 4K 13-inch screen. That gives you extremely tight pixel density. In fact, it's so tight it almost creates sort of a pattern if you're up very close to it. I don't know if it's because of the pixel density or if it's something else. Maybe it's the implementation of the touchscreen technology in this one as opposed to this one, but there's actually kind of a pattern, and it's distracting if you're up close. That's really me nitpicking the screen. I don't sit that close. I never notice it when I use it. It's not any kind of issue as far as I'm concerned. It's just something I noticed. The screen on the Stealth 13 is 100% sRGB compatible. And they're right. I mean, this really is retina shattering clarity. 8 million pixels, a 13-inch screen. It's just insane. What I'm seeing in my viewfinder on my camera is opposite what I'm seeing in real life. In real life, it looks like this computer has a red tint and this one does not. That's irrelevant for the purpose of this demonstration. They are different colors. Both of these came this way from the factory. This is how they were calibrated from the factory. This one I have not adjusted. I found it to be very pleasant. This one I am going to adjust. I have adjusted it before and I adjusted it back for this video. I'm going to adjust it again right now. I found that the color saturation on the screen seemed low, so I am here in the Intel UHD graphics control panel, and you can make a color adjustment right here. So I actually prefer the screen bumped up to 10 here on saturation. When you compare the 13-inch screen to the 15-inch screen, this one is brighter. It has almost fluorescent color spectrum, whereas this one is slightly more subdued. Still excellent, but you lose some of that vividness, even with the saturation setting turned up. There's probably no way for me to show you what I'm seeing because your monitor is going to be different than my monitor. These monitors are different from each other. And then to complicate it further, I'm recording it. Ultimately, I guess you just have to take my word that there's some difference, but the screen on the 15 and the screen on the 13 are both exceptional. Some of you may recall I'm big into screen consistency, and the screen on the 13 is really, really good. There might be a couple little splotchy looking things. Those are actually my fingerprints. That's not anything wrong with the screen. In fact, I don't even see any dirty patterns in this particular screen. It is as consistent as any screen I've ever had. For people who are curious about touchscreen functionality, the 4K version does have that touchscreen feature. The touchscreen works just fine. I don't use the touchscreen much, but you know, hey, look at me. I can add something to my cart by touching my screen. Yes. So here's the 15, and this is an example of that light bleed that seems to drive people so crazy. So this is an all black screen, and you've got this light coming out in the corner. So this isn't a reflection. This is actually inconsistent lighting on the screen. So here is a side-by-side comparison between the 15 and the 13. And you can easily see the light bleed on the 15 is significantly worse than it is over here on the 13. 13 has some, but it's really not bad. These are both showing an identical image. This is the same thing on both laptops. You can see the color is definitely more consistent on the 13, and the blacks, I mean, you know, they teach in art school, black's not black, and this is a really good example of how black can be two different colors on two different screens. Even though it comes across as kind of horrendous, it's not that bad in real life, and when you're watching a movie, it's not a big deal. If there's letterbox formatting, it's a bigger deal. When there's colors on the screen, you really can't see anything. And to illustrate that, I'll put something on here. So you'll see here in a second when the screen goes black that the light bleeding, it looks bad, but then when the color comes back, it's not really a big issue. Now we'll compare that to the 13. You'll see when the screen switches to black, there's still some light bleed, but it's not as bad. And again, when there's color, it's not an issue. That light bleed doesn't affect the enjoyment of the videos when there's any kind of color present. Just so people know, I'm recording both of these in 1080p. This isn't 4K video that's playing on these laptops. In the past, resolution like this would have made a laptop this size unusable, but Windows 10 offers some pretty good scaling tools, so you can make the icons bigger, and it even makes stuff in the apps bigger. So in some ways, it's pretty twisted to have a 4K screen and have to make everything bigger, so it looks like it's a 1080p screen or even less. So I mean, that's kind of messed up. But I tell you what, when you watch a 4K video on this, it's pretty mind-blowing. The sharpness is just off the charts, and it's something really cool to see on a screen that's this small. A 4K screen will absolutely tap into your battery more than a 1080p screen will. I found the battery life has been pretty good. So I've been using this for about an hour. I'm gonna mouse over this battery here and it says it's 66% remaining, 2 hours, 59 minutes left. And I've been periodically watching some videos and browsing around. So I would say in typical day-to-day use, if you're using like a spreadsheet application or you're watching some movies, I would not expect to see more than 5 hours out of this laptop. You have the option to pick different power modes. Of course, you can set it for higher performance or longer battery life. I haven't noticed that it makes a big difference in how the performance is affected. So if your battery life is your primary concern, then I would put it on maximum battery life. If you put it on maximum battery life, maybe you could squeeze out 6 hours. I can't see this laptop running longer than 6 hours as it stands with a 4K screen. Maybe someone else could do a battery rundown test. I haven't done that. I'm probably not going to do that. But again, in my experience doing what I'm doing, having it set sort of midway between performance and battery savings, I've seen about 3.5 to 4.5 hours of use out of a single charge. One of the things we should definitely discuss is the price difference between a full HD screen and a 4K screen. So if you opt for this full HD screen with a 256 gigabyte SSD, you are in $15.99. If you go up here to the 4K option, you do get 256 more gigabytes of SSD space, but with the 4K screen, you're at $18.99. So it's $400 for a small SSD upgrade and for a 4K screen upgrade. Is that worth it? I don't know. That's a hard question to answer, especially since I feel like you don't need the 4K screen, but I definitely decided that I was gonna have it. So that's my additional video on the screen for the Razer Blade Stealth 13. It's a fantastic screen, but as I said in my last video, I'm pretty sure you can get away with 1080p and it would be just fine. But if you've gotta have the latest and greatest, then this might just be the screen for you.